Then if we look down at something like Mpesa, which has really grown great guns. I know we'll get to Mshwari in a second, but it seems to me that has really expanded in a big way, even further than last year.
Yes, and I think we just did what we said we would do, which we would get not quite so much about more people,
yes,
but we get the same people doing more things. And so we've signed up a lot of partners. Most recently, together with one of our partners, Copa,
yes,
we're now starting to get the restaurant and hotel business signed up to Mpesa, and it's a great partnership. I mean, let me just dwell on that for a second. That's a partnership which says that, as a restaurateur, you pay less in merchant fees, but this Copa will help you to mine the information, so you will know which customers are loyal, which ones are coming in, which nights they're coming in, and then you can gear your offering specifically to those customers.
That's interesting.
So we've increased the number of people who accept Mpesa. We're now working on the FMCG distribution, so people like Coca-Cola and our friends at East Africa Brewery.
Well, they were the ones who were saying that tons of the cash is now going through Mpesa.
Yeah, so they came with us in the pilot, and that's working very well. So when they deliver beer to their distributors, they take payment via Mpesa, and that's much more secure, of course. It's immediate. They get their money pretty quickly. And, the beer companies, the lorry drivers don't get robbed for carrying cash.
So just to confirm, the revenue increased by 29.5%.
29.5%. We would say that don't expect that percentage to continue because, of course, the base gets bigger.
Yes.
But we do see, financial inclusion is one of the critical priorities for us, and we continue to drive that financial inclusion. So average transaction per users will continue to grow. We're more than 5.5, I think, now. And that will continue to grow because there'll be more things to do with Mpesa.
No, I mean, it's been a revolutionary product the world over.
Yes.
And interestingly, not as successful elsewhere. And I suppose that's a question for another interview because I don't know what were the ingredients that allowed it to cook and bake a cake so well here.
Yeah, I think it's because Kenyans are just smarter.
They're smarter.
They're just smarter. And other markets, they just don't get it.
Whilst I stay with Mpesa, you launched Mshwari this year. I didn't see the sort of hard data numbers, but I read that you've already got 1.2 million customers signed on. Is it another Mpesa, or should investors be a little bit more cautious?
Be cautious about it. It's early days. We have about 880 million shillings which are sitting on deposit today.
Yes.
But overall, if you look at how much has come in and gone out, I think we've taken more than 8 billion shillings has come in at some point. Loans is currently sitting at about 390 million shillings. But don't expect to see this pop up in the revenue. And I think I've been saying this to you before. Don't expect it to be popping up in the revenue streams in any significant way for a little while. But it's gaining good traction. And you see, the important thing about Mshwari, that's what I said earlier about this transforming life story. We didn't do it because we wanted to be demonstrating tons of revenue. The reason why we did it is because we believe that there is a need to develop a savings culture in the country. And this is what we're seeing. Not for me to sit here and tell you.
But I remember Michael Joseph telling me Mpesa was just a sticky product, and now look at its contribution to the bottom line. So, drilling down further, let's go down to data. You were quite bullish in what you were saying today about data and the expansion in it. And I noticed also this year you brought down the price tariff substantially. How do you characterize this sort of? I think you were speaking of an acceleration. What can you tell us about that?
In many markets, we've seen once it gets to about 25% of your base using data, 25 to 30%, then there's a kind of hockey stick and it really kicks up. We're expecting to see a little bit of that here. The thing which will stop it, of course, is the price of data handsets. So today, we have about 7.1 million data users, but these are GPRS and Edge users as well as 3G. The 3G numbers, I think, are 2.3 million, and I think it's about 1.3 who are smartphones. That 1.3 grew from 400,000 6 months ago.
Wow.
So, I can't remember whether we did
that's nearly 200. Yes, we did.
But we said we would now focus on smartphones, and we increased the smartphone penetration. Now we've got those people onto smartphones. We will expect to see data growth, but data is inevitable. I mean, You know.
And you're more. I know I saw an interview about a week ago that you're going to try and get more involved in selling handsets. It seemed you wanted to be more aggressive in rolling out smartphone handsets. I know you've been aggressive already. Your shops everywhere, but it seemed to be you were looking to focus on that as pushing data.
Yes. We don't want to subsidize handsets.
Yes.
That's a model in Europe which in the long term really hasn't worked that well. But we believe that if we can work with partners such as Techno, Techno bringing in the lowest costs.
Yes, this is the Chinese manufacturer.
Chinese manufacturer. At 6,000 shillings, would be the lowest cost.
$75.
That's about $65, yeah, $65 to $75. That's the cheapest we've seen so far. So we want to work with those partners to make sure that we can drive that penetration. We've got some good partners, Samsung, Nokia, Huawei, now Techno. All of those guys are driving the cost down, which is what's going to make a big difference to data revenue in the long term.
SMS, that was pretty impressive as well. What happened there? What did you do? And then I remember that number that billions of SMSs went flying around the country in Q4, I think it was.
Yeah, we did the Bonyeza Shindy proposition, so that actually did kick up our SMS numbers quite a lot. But essentially, we think we've got SMS pricing about right. So 10 shillings gives you 200 SMSs. 20 shillings, I think, give you 500 SMSs. I know we took a lot of stick, and I still do actually take quite a bit of stick for getting rid of the unlimited SMS. But
I remember that.
Yeah.
Blow back on Twitter.
We were running into some challenges around how people use SMS responsibly. But actually, we found that there weren't that many people who were using more than 200 SMSs anyway. I mean, there were, count of fingers of one hand, perhaps. So the pricing is right, and it recognizes that a lot of customers, particularly young customers, don't have smartphones to be using WhatsApp and the other instant messaging platforms, and so kids are using this as a instant message substitute. I'm sure your children probably
They are, yes. We're just agreeing the bundle offer from you. So, you're throwing off all this cash. You're paying this enormous dividend in a world where everybody's dying for some yield. You saw what happened with the Rwanda Eurobond. What does your competition do in this situation, Bob?
I think you need to go and ask them.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I think you need to go and ask them.
Now, looking forward, just where I know you've told me before, Alikan, there's a lot more growth in this market. I know the Ethiopian Prime Minister came and paid a visit to your office. Is there any opportunity of regional expansion, or does that fall under Vodafone, or how should an investor look at that situation?
We don't have any restrictions.
Yes.
Any geographic restrictions.
Yes.
We are an independent company. Vodafone is a large shareholder, of course they are, but so is the government of Kenya. So we make our decisions by the board, not by any individual shareholder. We set ourselves a goal. This is, we go beyond the limits. So we go beyond the limits of being a mobile phone company, and then we started to do mobile money, for example, and we started to do Mshwari. And so we will continue to go beyond the limits, but at the time when we start to look at any kind of cross-border transactions, we'll come to the market in an appropriate way and tell them. The Ethiopian Prime Minister and us are just buddies. So
No, but it's interesting because they're quite restrictive on the banks. I would have thought something like Mpesa would really work well there.
I think it could.
Yeah. Bob, I've got to congratulate you and say, as I said, really strong results, and very proud of you, because I remember when where the journey started, and you've lifted the share price, you've delivered for shareholders, and I hope we'll see all-time highs later this year, which I think we will.
And I thank you for your confidence in us. You've always been very confident in this asset. And I know when you were talking about a 6 shilling share,
I got bashed everywhere.
And then you went up to 7 shillings and 7.20, and each of your forecasts has worked well.
Thank you.
So you stick with us when we were doing a 49% dip in profit, and it's good to see that.
No, I think you're at the front of the information revolution, and I think you represent its arrival in Africa in a big way, and I congratulate you for that. And also I congratulate you for the way you've. People might know, but Bob's from Guyana, and but very much a Kenyan, I would say, and I really think that's the way you've immersed yourself in our societies is worth a lot on your share price.
Thank you.
Others would do well to copy it if they could.
Thanks, Alikan.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.